One of the technologies that will enable that is vehicle-to-vehicle communications, which many OEMs, including us, will be demonstrating in various forms at the conference this week. However, you might read from this slide that the value of vehicle-to-vehicle communications is the reduction of sensors. In fact, that is not going to be the case for some time. It's rarely the augmentation of sensors. Why is that? When vehicles can communicate to each other, they can talk to each other and send information in areas that a sensor on a vehicle cannot see because it's occluded by being around a turn, buildings, obstructions, or just the vehicle in front of you. And if you have a chance, it is a remarkable feeling to get a signal in your vehicle that a vehicle that's 2 cars or 3 cars ahead of you that you cannot see has done an emergency stop so that you get enough warning to react to it. The question then becomes, how can I take that concept and make it even more applicable? Why can't we imagine a world where pedestrians and bicyclists are carrying transponders which can fit in smartphones to warn drivers of their position? The fact is, fatalities in the developing world are increasing while they're decreasing in automotive-related accidents in the developed world. And many of those fatalities are pedestrians. We believe the technology is converging where we can help reduce that dramatically, and we'll be demonstrating that if you get a chance to visit our exhibit. What about the success of this technology and then dealing with the older part of the fleet? The fact is, it takes 15 years to turn over the automotive fleet in most of the world. If we have life-saving technology, we have to be concerned about how we make that technology retrofittable to older vehicles. And one of the technologies we're working on is, in fact, to have a transponder that you can use to retrofit an older vehicle, or even thinking beyond that, how many of the applications can we incorporate by Bluetooth connecting your smartphone with your vehicle? So where is all this headed? We're in a decade where I think we're going to see tremendous advances in vehicles that will not crash. But the fact is, once you have that technology, why not go the next step and make vehicles that drive themselves? As you start to think about that, the building blocks for vehicles that don't crash, where you need local information, you now can augment with high-precision GPS and digital maps. And in fact, the vehicle can then drive itself. However, a major challenge comes in. You have humans partially in the loop, and really understanding the human-vehicle interface of humans and drivers that are often on and off involved in driving the vehicle may be the hardest technology problem we're facing. We have a roadmap for sensors, we have a roadmap for actuators, the navigation and city planning for traffic is well underway. What I would encourage is more and more of the research effort around the world getting to understand the driver in the loop. Now, we like to think everything is starting now. I'm sure every researcher throughout history has felt they were at the cutting edge at all times. The fact is, we went into our archives and found 2 vehicles in the 1950s, one of which still exists in our Heritage Center, which was an autonomous vehicle. The first involved and relied on embedded systems in a road, so that the intelligent highway. I think most of us are now in belief that it'll be smarts in the car with slight augmentation in the infrastructure, we will see. But even more intriguing, one of the last concept vehicles created by Harley Earl, who was one of the great designers of the industry, is in the lower middle. And no, those are not pedestrian spares designed to take out people who got in the way of the car. Those are actually radar cones using the same basic technology we have rolled out today to do obstacle detection and collision avoidance. The fact is, though, it took us another 50 years to get to the point where this technology is now robust enough and on the path to being affordable enough that we can truly envisage the beginning of autonomous driving. The Urban Challenge in 2007, run by DARPA, was a major proof point that I'm sure history will mark as a turning point where the world started to have demonstrable autonomous driving. But just look at what's come out in the 3 years since then. Not only automotive companies, but non-automotive companies starting to field prototype versions of autonomous driving. That will change the world. The last thing we need to worry about is every problem we just talked about gets magnified tenfold in the megacities of the world. And there we face the problem of the car park growing faster than the road infrastructure. By the way, an interesting tidbit, the last decade, when there were more miles of road built in the United States than miles of car, if they were laid end to end in a year, was in the 50s. The fact is, in the large cities around the world, we are approaching gridlock. And I'm from New York City originally. My relatives who still live in Manhattan pay more for a parking spot than they do for the lease of their car. We have to take on both of these problems as well as one before. And in order to solve that, now we do need the wireless connected mobility internet, so that the vehicles, in terms of where they park, where they drive, how to dynamically route them, has to be an ecosystem that we all need to create, and by the way, hopefully, with a single homologated standard around the world. So as we look to this future, what do we see? And almost every one of the required technologies is being discussed in one paper or another this week. The world will be electric, it'll be connected, and a slight modification of this, autonomous on demand. Because one of the challenges we have, as in fact vehicles become more complex, is that we do not reinvent our way out of the love affair of people for their vehicle. It's still fun to drive, but not necessarily on Route 405 in standstill traffic when you're trying to, depending on your age, participate in a conference call or text somebody. The fact is we have to pull all these technologies together, and our goal should be to get this done in terms of technology readiness by the end of this decade. Our customers are ready for it. The technology roadmaps are there. And I think the armies of researchers and engineers represented in this room is the worldwide team we need to accomplish that. So I'm looking forward to the talks and demonstrations this week. Hopefully you are as well. And with that, we'll move on to the next speaker.